Why should you? Don't trust him. Don't vote for him.
Authorised B. Offner, Labor, Sydney.
For the federal election, you need to complete 2 ballot papers. On the Green House of Representatives ballot paper, you need to number every box in the order of your choice. Your vote will help shape Australia. Learn more at aec.gov.au. Authorised by the Electoral Commissioner, Canberra.
This is 7 News, the voice of the coast.
Tonight, rivers rise as heavy rain smashes the New South Wales coast. Roads and bridges flooded with more rain on the way this week.
I'm Daniel Gibson. Later on this news hour, heroes and heartbreak. The Bondi Junction inquest begins. And the next steps for the Catholic Church after the Pope's death.
7 News begins now.
Good evening. The mid-north coast has been battered by wild, wet weather, with some areas getting more than 100 millimetres of rain. The SES has been kept busy with rescues as rivers and creeks continue to swell. They are warning residents not to take any chances with more rain on the way this week.
More than 160 millimetres of rain over 3 days. The Mile River Bulladila bursting its banks, catching some residents by surprise.
Saturday, it started to rise. Sunday was the day where it really kicked in. But within maybe 24 to 48 hours, we went from being, oh, this is okay, to, yeah, our driveway was impassable.
The SES receiver was kept busy with calls for help as residents and holidayers became trapped by the fast-rising waters. Bulladila and Stroud hit hard.
Where we saw some heavy rainfall, a number of creeks and tributaries in and around that area rose very quickly. A number of flood rescues in that area around Emu Creek Road, around the Crawford River.
With more wet weather expected this week, the SES is worried catchments won't have enough time to drain. More rain could see renewed flooding in low-lying areas.
It certainly is. So the catchment's very charged. All the off-catchment storage is full, so if we get any significant falls in a short time frame, it just won't get the time to push through the catchment.
The SES is warning people to keep away from flooded areas and don't put lives at risk.
And we just ask people to make good decisions, think about where they are and how they're moving about the area, and ensure that they avoid entering any floodwaters.
Medina Wells joins us live now from Taree. In Medina, the area around Seal Rocks has also suffered some damage.
Nick, Kinka Road is closed to traffic at the moment. Part of the cliff face giving way, taking a section of the road with it. Mid-Coast Council is concerned about the level of damage that's occurred, and experts are being brought in to assess the site.
A geotechnical inspection happening today, which will shed some light on the risk factors associated with that level of undermining.
Train services throughout Newcastle, Central Coast and Hunter lines have also been replaced by buses due to flooding.
All right, Medina, thanks for the update tonight. Well, the heavy falls have also put roads and bridges underwater in the Macleay Valley. Drivers have been warned to take their time and be patient, and of course always avoid putting lives at risk, with some people completely ignoring the road closure rules.
Heavy rainfall over the long weekend, swelling rivers and keeping local SES crews busy.
We had about 100 mil over the catchment here over the weekend, especially Saturday night, and that created 18 jobs, our crews between Kempsey and the Nambucca cluster.
Most of the call-outs were for leaking roofs, but bridges near Kempsey swamped.
Our low-level bridges in particular don't take a great deal to close, and we have seen the closure of a number of the bridges that cross the Macleay River upstream of Kempsey.
Tamagog Bridge completely submerged under a fast-moving Macleay River, while debris and water tipped over the Sherwood Bridge, with some drivers ignoring road closures.
The big thing is, do not drive across those bridges when the water comes off the deck until council's crews have checked them for any structural damage and cleared any debris off the...
Kempsey Council is asking drivers to be patient and plan their trips, with a number of routes expected to remain closed into this evening.
The river starts to fall. We'll keep a very close eye on the river levels as they approach the deck level. our teams will be out inspecting those bridges.
With more rain expected over the next week, drivers are being urged to check live traffic for the latest bridge closures.
Have a flood plan. Make sure you've got supplies. And if, are going to be isolated or you've got stock implications, have a plan to act upon so that you're not leaving it to the last minute.
James Carter, 7 News.
Further north, Tumblegum residents are being urged to watch for flooding as rivers continue to rise. Now, king tides could cause catchments to break their banks in areas that are still recovering from Cyclone Alfred.
Waterlogged crops and muddy conditions. Farmers can't seem to escape the wet.
It's just ongoing. We haven't had a decent spell of dry weather for 6 months.
Recent rainfall and flooding on the Tweed impacting operations further after Cyclone Alfred damaged paddocks.
There's a lot of debris in the drainage system, trees that have been blown over that need to be lifted out of those drainage systems, and if we leave them there much longer, it'll just compound the problems.
Just so wet and soggy, and the sides of the hills are slippery. It's just dangerous at the moment.
Year-old cane already destroyed, soybeans taking the biggest hit in the northern rivers.
We lost 90% of the soybeans on our farm.
Now farmers are on flood watch again. The Tweed River at Tumblegum could break its banks when king tides hit in coming days.
Our catchments are very wet at the moment. Any further rain that we may receive later in this week will actually just lead to further flash flooding.
More than 100 millimetres of rain has fallen across the region in the past 3 days. While there was some reprieve today, cane growers say they need a fortnight of good weather to get on with business.
We had about 5 days of dry weather last week. We just got back onto some of the headlands to do a bit of maintenance around drains and mowing of headlands and whatever, a bit of spraying, but it was still too wet.
Harvesting season could also be pushed back.
We've been here before in these situations over the years, and we'll come out on top.
Elise Holden, 7 News.
Well, staying on all things weather, Kirsty joins us now. And Kirsty, it was a little bit drier today after our wet weekend.
Yeah, we certainly did have a bit of a deluge. Nick, hello to you and hello everybody. Today, certainly a little bit of patchy cloud, just a few scattered showers, but following a very wet couple of days. Rainfall was heaviest into Saturday night and Sunday morning, 68 millimetres at Port Macquarie, 96 millimetres in Kempsey and 64 millimetres of rain for Grafton. There are still minor flood warnings for the Hastings and Arara rivers. Last night showers too, though much lighter, and that wet weather has continued for some of us this afternoon, only around 5 millimetres, a little less than that, and that was mainly to the south of Port Macquarie. Further north, through parts of the northern rivers, temperatures reached the mid-20s, the high 20s around Grafton and Coolangatta with 27, and quite a warm northeasterly breeze, those winds mostly light during the day. Further north, though, a little bit more gusty, a top of 24 in Byron Bay. Now, an unsettled week is on the way with moderate to heavy falls through the mid-north coast. I'll have all the details of what we can expect a little later on.
Okay, Kirsty, sounds good. We'll see you soon. We are now into the dying days of the federal election campaign, and many voters are still trying to make up their mind. A final debate by the nation's leaders was pretty fiery, but both missed the mark on a very important question about the cost of living.
What do you want to see from this election? Maybe a price cut at the supermarket.
More housing.
National security is a bit of an issue for me.
Lower renting rates, I suppose.
Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton both debating their intentions in the final leaders contest. Clearly not there to make friends.
She should be ashamed of
Okay, well, Peter, you should be ashamed and you're a liar. Well, Peter can attack me.
Insults aside, neither had their finger on the pulse of basic costs, like a carton of eggs.
About $4.20.
No, you might get half a dozen.
Mr. Albanese.
$7 if you can find them, because it's hard to find them at the moment. Yeah, you're looking at it. I reckon you're looking at $8+.
And voters aren't impressed.
We've gotten away with it. We've got price gouging in our supermarkets, and people are really actually feeling the pinch. It's just a hard way of life at the moment.
The leaders' performances following well-rehearsed pitches.
Nothing new was aired for me. It wasn't nothing that would sway my mind one way or another.
From the 7 network debate, 50% backed Albanese, 25% for Dutton, and 25% still undecided.
I think you've done enough research and all that sort of stuff, but it ends up being all the same, at the end of it. So you're just trying to vote the least worst person out
rather than the best person in.
And with time running out, there's still work to do.
Debate last night on Channel 7. I was happy enough with Dutton, but he was very lacklustre and wimpy last night.
And Casey Ranger joins us live now from Coffs Harbour. And Casey, plenty of people are getting in early ahead of Saturday.
That's right, Nick. Pre-polling centres across the coast have seen an influx of early voters over the past week. Just under 2.4 million people have cast their vote nationwide. This includes over 17,000 in Cowper, 14,400 in Page, and 20,900 in Lyme.
Expect that part of that strong result is because 5 days of pre-polling last week were sort of crammed into 3, but it's still a very, very healthy amount of people who have pre-poll voted. We're expecting those numbers to go up this week as well.
On election day, voting centres will be open from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m, Nick.
It's plenty of time to get yourself a democracy sausage. All right, Casey, thanks for the update. Up next in 7 News, could an essential government workforce face the axe? And a miraculous rescue, a tiny sausage dog found after 18 months in the wild.
A little later on this news hour, the price of eggs puts cost of living front and centre 6 days out from the polls closing. Plus, the Bondi stabbing inquest begins. New details on the killer's final moments. And leaders react to the outpouring of grief for Audrey Griffin.
Leaked documents reveal a government work...
In a time of global volatility, we've never needed stability more. But that's not what Peter Dutton is offering. His nuclear plan will drive up the cost of everything. His cuts to Medicare will make our health system more like America. His job cuts will destroy public services. Our economy is only just recovering from the skyrocketing inflation and trillion-dollar debt left by the last Liberal government. There's nothing stable about an Australia under Dutton. He cuts, you pay.
Authorised P. Erickson, ALP Canberra.
You know what? I've got something I want to tell you. You're gonna be a grandma.
When you power your home with great value and sustainable energy plans from Engie, everything becomes epic. With Engie, it's possible.
For the federal election, you need to complete 2 ballot papers. On a large white Senate ballot paper, you can vote above the line by numbering at least 6 boxes or below the line by numbering at least 12 boxes. Learn more at aec.gov.au. Authorised by the Electoral Commission of Canberra.
Any votes to count? Earthwise's new plant-powered cleaning action delivers uncompromising results. Incoming. Earthwise, eco made logical.
Workforce, it's essential to helping councils and emergency services, is now facing a cull. Dozens of positions are said to be axed. It's prompting 2 separate unions to now investigate.
On the map for all the wrong reasons.
It's simply not good enough.
A niche government workforce under threat.
These people do not know whether or not their families are going to stay here in the local area.
They're the map gurus of the state, building the boundaries councils, the public and emergency services rely on.
Provides the mapping data and the maps for all of New South Wales, and that's used for whether it's disaster management or emergency response.
But behind the doors of Bathurst Spatial Services building, it's tense.
Members are concerned about what the future does hold for them.
A mass restructure is on the cards. 66 jobs are on the chopping block. That's nearly 20% of the workforce. Some of those positions are vacant, but union figures suggest at least 20 of those are not.
They're in a regional regional centre and a regional centre that really can't afford to lose jobs.
Leaked documents from inside reveal morale is low. Staff say their lives are on hold. Others question how they're meant to meet expectations with fewer people.
Speak to anyone in emergency services or in disaster response, they'll tell you it's absolutely vital that they can rely on accurate maps to get to the right place at the right time.
We're told staff are too afraid to speak publicly in fear they'll be reprimanded. And according to the local MP, this restructure is putting colleague against colleague as they fight to secure their futures.
The government's response: the building is running unsustainably over budget.
At the moment, we seem to have a government that is slashing jobs in regional New South Wales
as the staff here are left to navigate an uncertain future. Declan Milton, 7 News.
The owners of a slippery sausage dog have shared their sheer joy after a fairy tale ending to her extraordinary adventure. Valerie, the miniature dash hound, was captured safe and well after spending more than 500 days on the run. Her story even going viral on social media.
A twist in the tale of a missing dog.
Just so overwhelmed with joy.
After 530 days roaming the remote island, Valerie, the miniature dashhound, was captured in a homemade trap made by volunteers at Kangala Wildlife Rescue.
Those little legs have travelled some miles.
It's been an agonising wait from 1,000 kilometres away for owners Georgie Gardner and Josh Fishlock.
We had moved on a little bit, but we are just so ecstatic that she's going to be coming home.
The small but mighty 2-year-old pup has dug up fans across the country, lasting so long on the island without a scratch.
She doesn't have anything that we're worried about. She's in perfect condition.
Winking goodbye to her wild side, the crafty canine will spend the next few days settling back into domestic life.
She's still, jumpy at things because everything is new again. So, people, smells, buildings, animals. She hasn't experienced this for a year and a half.
Her first lesson, patience, while she waits for her owners to bring her home in 2 weeks' time.
We are just so grateful with all of our heart to Kangala Wildlife Rescue.
I'm sure that she's going to be so excited to see Josh and Georgia, after everything she's been through.
Making her encore on her South Australian tour. Phoebe Worthley, 7 News.
That is a good outcome. Up next in sport, Ballina Seahorses in command at the top of Far North Coast Rugby and a fiery 1-1 draw in North Coast Premier League. Coff City United and the Northern Storm put it all on the line in their Anzac Cup fixture, a late game classic, seeing both teams share the points at the full-time whistle.
Skies open, drenching the Coffs synthetics.
Saturday night under the floodlights, pouring with rain.
No deterrent for Coffs United or the Northern Storm as they went head-to-head.
We knew it was going to be a big match, and the Anzac Cup always adds a little bit to it. So, yeah, it was exciting for everyone to be involved in.
It wasn't long before United had a shot at the lead. A goal line clearance, Storm's only salvation.
And then young Ethan Andrews chased back and cleared it off the goal line. So that really set the scene for the night.
Both teams failing to convert in the first half. Neither team taking their foot off the gas.
A very hard-fought match, chances both sides. It looked like it was heading towards a draw.
Then, class from Chris Dooley, grounding one defender, then another, before slotting the ball past the keeper. But the game wasn't over. With 5 minutes to go, the Storm took their chance, equalising in style. A 1-1 draw deemed a fair result. However, there is room for improvement with the competition just getting started.
1-1 in the end is probably the likely fair result. Just a little bit of kick in the guts when you can see that late in the game.
Casey Ranger, 7 News.
The Ballina Seahorses are the ones to beat in this year's Far North Coast Rugby Union. The team has cemented their place on top of the ladder for the start of the season, taking out another win against Lennox Head 48-0. Trojans tried their best to catch the team, but it was all over by half-time, with the Seahorses leading by 36 points. The Byron Shire Rebels won their first game against Lismore 59-0. Lismore currently sitting last on the ladder behind Lennox Head. There is a fair bit of rain on the way. Up next, Kirsty will have your local weather forecast.
Good evening, everyone. A low pressure system off the coast is bringing showers to eastern New South Wales, both the coast and...
In a time of global volatility, we've never needed stability more. But that's not what Peter Dutton is offering. His nuclear plan will drive up the cost of everything. His cuts to Medicare will make our health system more like America. His job cuts will destroy public services. Our economy is only just recovering from the skyrocketing inflation and trillion-dollar debt left by the last Liberal government. There's nothing stable about an Australia under Dutton. He cuts, you pay.
Authorised P. Erickson, ALP Canberra.
You know what? I've got something I want to tell you. You're gonna be a grandma. Hello.
With GIO Comprehensive Car Insurance, get lifetime guarantee on authorized repairs. If it's precious to you, protect it with us. GIO. Protect precious.
The inland ranges. Wet weather will continue to be driven by onshore winds lashing the coastline this weekend. The rest of the state looking a little clearer, though cooler under a ridge of high pressure. We are set for some icy mornings with a possible return of frost in some areas. Now, the Sydney and Illawarra coasts are in the line for some of the heaviest rain this week, but our north coast does also remain very wet with up to 100 millimetres forecast across parts of the mid-north coast over the coming 7 days, I should say. We could see around 50 millimetres through parts of the northern rivers. Tomorrow, though, does look like the calm before the storm, with sunshine even for parts of the coast. A sunny 25 at Nambucca Heads, a clear 20-degree day for Dorrigo. We could wake to some early fog, though, and we'll continue to have those cooler winds throughout the day, tending west to southwesterly. Temperatures sitting around the low to mid-20s for most, with just a millimetre or two of rain for some of us. On the waters, southwesterly winds to 30 knots with a strong wind warning for the Byron and Coffs Coast, while sea heights sit at almost 2.5 metres, dropping though further south down to about a metre for the Hunter waters. Through to Wednesday, a sunny morning, a light breeze, minimums once again in the low teens and maximums the low 20s, but wet weather and cool winds increasing across the day. We're expecting around 3 to 5 millimetres with some storms along the coastline too, 24 at Casino and the same through Lismore. But the start of the heavier falls will coincide with the start of May on Thursday. The heaviest rainfall south of Coffs Harbour, so we're expecting around 35 millimetres of rain at the maximum at this stage through the likes of Port Macquarie, I should say. That compounding flooding conditions that we've already been seeing. Cooler southwesterly winds about, much like the next couple of days, and we're expecting to see a chance of storms. Lighter falls in the north, though. We're only expecting about 5 millimetres through Byron Bay and towards Coffs Harbour. As we head further into the week, though, we're expecting that wet weather to ramp up. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on those totals and, of course, on river levels over the next few days.
Yeah, we certainly will. I think we'd all love a bit of a break from the rain, Kirsty.
We need it.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Well, that is your local news for tonight. I'm Nick Hose. In just a moment, Dan has your latest national news. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 6.